Hey everybody, it is Thursday, September 10th, 2020. It's going to be a little bit of a later output in tonight's video, but we do have a lot to talk about as we continue to watch this historic economic bubble be inflated with intervention, with rescue programs, with the help from our good friends over at the Fiat Funny Money Bank there. You know exactly who I'm talking about. And some of the news that we're going to cover today really shows the evaporation of this myth, the V-shaped recovery that we're supposed to be seeing happening right before our eyes. Of course, they can manipulate the unemployment number, they can cherry pick the data, they can make that look pretty good, make it look like things are getting better. They can also prevent foreclosures and prevent millions of people from getting kicked out of their homes or getting evicted, to make things again appear good on the surface, but underneath, under the surface there is some very hot lava, and we better be careful because as the surface breaks, a lot of us are going to find ourselves burning in that lava. Well, let's start right here. A pretty big sell-off in most of the major indexes today on Thursday, September 10th, as we had a failed negotiation for more stimulus and stimulus checks for the American people. We had that fail, and we see the Dow Jones dropped about 1.5%. The NASDAQ, the S&P also down. Russell 2000 down. Oil hanging around $37. Gold still hanging tight above $19.50. Silver at $27.06. So we're not only seeing strong metals price action over the past several months, but also the drops in metals is not as severe even when bad news hits, such as we're going to talk about with the further delay, and failed to negotiate a deal on the stimulus checks. Now the Hill, we're looking at an article right here. They are reporting that it is the Democrats that held this back, this package. And the Democrats basically are saying, no, this is not big enough, it's not what we wanted, and it's more of the same. It's more finger pointing. It's not my fault, it's his fault. It's not his fault, it's her fault, and so forth. And it's going to be more of the same blame game, and it goes something like this. It's not you, it's not me, it's the man behind the tree, right? And we've seen this pattern when it comes to the policymakers. Throw the blame, deflect, point the finger, but we have unlimited funds available to support the markets. So even though we had a big red day today with this bad news, you shouldn't be surprised if you see the markets recover here tomorrow or Monday and proceed to go on to all-time highs before the end of the year. My prediction still stands. Speaking of propping up the markets, we have falling mortgage rates now. They're driving up home sales and refinancing. And rates are still hovering down around 3%. And we know the Fed has recently vowed to disregard even the fake goal of having 2% inflation. So who knows where home prices are going to end up here. We know there would be an absolute market crash and plunging prices if the Fed were to ever to pull back on some of this stimulus and some of the support and artificially lower mortgage rates to keep this massive bubble inflated. But who knows how much longer it's going to last. I don't think too much longer after this very important end of the year 2020, but we'll have to see. More signs that the V-shaped recovery is failing. We've got another huge glut and buildup of oil reserves, and oil again now has to be stored at sea because of the huge glut. And we'll look at a quick chart right here that shows the spike here. This is the VLCC floating storage, and that indicates that there could be much less demand than was anticipated, as we still have not seen travel and industry and shipping recover to where it was pre-lockdown. Hopefully, if we're lucky, we'll see this translated into lower gas prices. We'll have to see. If you're here in California, it doesn't matter because they're just going to keep raising the gas taxes anyway, because basically California and some other states like ours were scaring off all the rich, or many of the rich, because of the higher tax proposals, and people are just choosing to go to lower price states where they won't be taxed into oblivion. We talked several times about the PPP loans and the failure to get the loans into the hands of the people that need them. We knew that there was a lot of misallocation, a lot of fraud with that. Well, the Justice Department's out. They have charged 57 people trying to steal $175 million in PPP funds. And I know there were some politicians that got some of those loans. We'll have to see if they get caught up. But we do know some people that did need it. Try to get some of these loans here. An NFL player falsified pandemic loan applications used to proceed and use the proceeds rather to buy some luxury items, including Gucci luxury handbags. So that's where a lot of the stimulus money is going. It's going to the people that don't need it. There's a lot of fraud. And again, another reason why we don't want to be relying on the government, who can't even balance a budget, to keep everybody fed and to keep everybody getting paid. It's an absolute recipe for disaster. Now, one of my favorite economists and financial commentators is out with a recent article, John Malden. He has an article out here called The Three Truths That Will Define the Three-Part Economy. And he's saying a lot of similar things to what we've been saying here for a couple years. This next transition or downturn, recession, Great Depression, correction, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be so severe, it's going to change the way we live. And we talk a lot about how prices are disconnected from reality. Prices are disconnected from true supply and demand because of all the false demand or fake demand that's being created at the hands of the monopoly men, the fiat funny money bankers. And I'm just going to read a few excerpts out of this article here from John Malden. Quote, everything is going to be repriced and thought through. You can't take anything for granted. Inflation numbers and measures are going to be warped for at least a few years. We're using old tools to measure a new economy. We're going to have to develop new models to appropriately analyze the world that we live in. And in this article, he also goes on to quote a excerpt out of a book by George Friedman, and he predicts the 2020s will bring dramatic upheaval, reshaping of government, foreign policy, economics, and culture. And he also goes on to say how many people are reorganizing and finding out they don't need so much stuff. People are downsizing, people are donating, getting rid of stuff. One, because they have to, because they may be ready to be evicted, or maybe people had to move in with their relatives. We see a lot of millennials that had to do that here recently. Now, most millennials live at home with their parents. He also talks about the K-shaped recovery, about how the rich are going to get richer. They're going to come in and buy troubled assets when prices are finally allowed to correct. But then the other half of the population, or the other 90%, I should say, most of those individuals are going to see their worth slashed even worse than it has been over the past 10 years. And it is true about people downsizing, as it looks like more and more people are getting ready to try to withstand this economic storm. I tweeted this out recently. The eviction storm and big city exodus are causing a surge in furniture donations to thrift stores, and there's an article talking about this. Thrift stores are seeing a surge in donation, especially larger items, furniture items. And I have to admit, I've been doing more of that myself. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but the lighter you travel, the easier time you're going to have navigating this storm. And let's be honest, a lot of us accumulate just too much stuff, and the more you're downsized, the better you'll probably be at navigating the storm. So I know a lot of people on this forum and down in comments, you talk about a minimalist lifestyle. A lot of people chose not to have a family, and it's going to be hard enough for people without kids to try to survive what's coming. But people with kids, I really pray for all of you. I'm trying to bring up little ones in this crazy world, and I'm just scared, for their futures. I'm not sure what's going to happen. But we do know we need to be prepared the best we can. Try to be as self-sufficient as possible. I know that's nearly impossible nowadays, because even if you get a remote getaway land, it's still going to be taxed. So if you don't have a way to get your hands on the fiat dollars, they're going to come take that land away from you if you don't pay those taxes in fiat funny money dollars. So it doesn't matter how much food you grow, how self-sufficient you are. The tax man's the ultimate owner of the property in all homes. It's pretty sad, but that's the reality that we live in. Sorry about my voice today. You might hear me kind of getting a little choked up here. I don't know if it's the smoke, but for those of you who don't know, I've talked about it recently. There's a big fire probably about 20-25 miles away from us here in California. Could be that affecting my voice, could be just not enough sleep. But I'm trying not to stress about it. There's not much we can do to change the system. We can just try to prepare the best we can. Please let me know down in the comments what you're doing. What do you feel about this? Do you feel like I do that 2021 could be the most devastating economic storm that any of us have ever witnessed in our lifetimes? Folks, I think we're headed into some real dark times now. I think I've mentioned this before. There could be a silver lining to all this. Maybe we'll see a restructuring that's going to work to the benefit of most people, of the actual working class, not just people who sit behind an office desk or computer that create no value to society, such as the fiat bankers. But that almost seems like a pie in the sky scenario right now with everything going on and just how blind most people seem to be to what's actually happening here and the true cause, and all the everybody's divided and pointing the finger at the wrong place. Again, we have the stimulus checks being held up with the finger pointing and the blame game. It's an absolute nightmare for a lot of people already, and we think it's only going to get worse. Continue to prepare. Thanks everybody for watching this report. Bye now. Peace.